The ongoing unraveling of the traditional 9-to-5 work model is not a sudden shift, but a slow-motion collapse that has been building for years, perhaps even decades. What was once considered the gold standard for stability and career progression has been hollowed out by automation, freelancing, corporate cost-cutting, and a generational reevaluation of what work is supposed to look like. While some cling to the structure and predictability the 9-to-5 job once offered, millions have already stepped or been pushed into alternative arrangements. From gig work to short-term contracts and freelance hustles, the cracks in the 40-hour work week have become impossible to ignore. The 9-to-5 job as we know it was born in a different era, designed by labor unions in the 1800s and popularized by industrial tycoons like Henry Ford. For its time, it was revolutionary. In an age when workers labored for 12 to 16 hours a day in factories, the idea of a standardized 40-hour week was a breakthrough for labor rights. Ford adopted this structure not because of some altruistic concern for worker well-being, but because it made his factories more attractive to the most skilled laborers. By offering predictable hours and the promise of overtime, he created a talent vacuum, one so strong that other automakers had no choice but to follow suit. This system, built for a world of repeatable tasks and measurable productivity, eventually spilled over into sectors that bore no resemblance to assembly lines. It became the default, whether you were making cars or marketing them, shipping tools, or designing apps. The logic was simple. If it works in factories, it must work in offices too. But in today's economy, that logic has broken down. Modern office jobs are fundamentally different from the industrial roles the 9-to-5 was built to support. Output is no longer tied to hours in a straightforward way. 1 hour of focused creative work can be more valuable than 5 hours of distracted meetings. Projects move in waves. Some days require 12 hours of high-output collaboration. Others involve sitting at a desk with little to do. Yet the old expectations persist. Workers are expected to clock in and out, fill the time, even if it means inventing tasks to look busy. This performative productivity is wasteful, demoralizing, and increasingly unnecessary. According to a study by ADP Research Institute, by 2021, the average white-collar employee was logging more than 9 hours of unpaid overtime every week. That's more than a full day of work, offered up for free just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, during slow periods, those same workers were expected to remain glued to their desks, producing little while pretending to be productive. This contradiction is now at the heart of workplace dysfunction. At the same time, gig work has exploded. Over the past decade, gig-based platforms like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Instacart have grown at 5 times the rate of traditional employment. Their appeal is obvious. No resumes, no interviews, just a phone and an internet connection. Even if the pay is low and the hours unpredictable, gig work offers something traditional jobs rarely do. Freedom. You work when you want, as much as you want, and stop when you've earned what you need. That level of control, however limited, is enough to draw millions away from rigid jobs that no longer guarantee security or upward mobility. Freelancing and contract work have also surged, especially among skilled professionals. Designers, developers, marketers, consultants, all can now sell their time and expertise directly to clients. Unlike full-time employment, which often includes stretches of wasted time and underutilization, contract work only pays for deliverables. The model is simple. Work gets done, payment is made, and both sides move on. The best freelancers command high rates and flexible schedules. The trade-off is clear. No benefits, no paid time off, no long-term security, but many consider it a fair price for autonomy. Healthcare professionals have also joined this exodus. Nurses, doctors, and support staff are increasingly ditching salaried roles for the world of private contracting. The benefits are similar to those found in other freelance sectors. More control over hours, better pay, and the freedom to choose clients. While burnout remains an issue, especially post-pandemic, many healthcare workers now see contract work as a path to better work-life balance, even if that means shouldering their own healthcare costs and liability insurance. That brings us to the next issue, benefits. In a traditional full-time job, benefits like health insurance, retirement plans, and paid vacation are part of the deal. When workers shift to freelance or contract roles, those perks evaporate. Suddenly, every dollar earned must cover not just rent and food, but also medical expenses, tax planning, and time off. For gig workers and freelancers, this can be devastating. It's the hidden tax of independence. Yes, you might earn more per hour, but you're also taking on risk, unpredictability, and the burden of planning for the future. For low-wage gig workers in particular, private health insurance is often out of reach, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. This shift is especially problematic in states with at-will employment laws, where companies can fire workers without cause or notice. If job security doesn't exist to begin with, why cling to the illusion that full-time work provides it? Increasingly, workers are asking that question and opting out of the old system entirely. For businesses, the death of the 9-to-5 offers a golden opportunity. They can reduce overhead, shrink HR departments, and slash benefits costs by hiring independent contractors instead of employees. Tech giants like Google have leaned into this model aggressively. In fact, since 2018, contract workers have outnumbered full-time employees at Google. The logic is clear. Contractors can be hired when needed and let go without triggering layoffs or public outcry. In lean times, they disappear silently. No severance, no bad press. This flexibility allows companies to scale their workforce up and down like a thermostat. The downside, those doing the actual work become expendable. But from a balance sheet perspective, it makes sense. Hiring one 10,000 per hour specialist for a 10-hour sprint may be more efficient than hiring a full-time staffer for a year, especially if their expertise is only occasionally required. There are, however, losers in this new landscape. While entry-level gig workers gain some flexibility and top-tier contractors reap financial rewards, mid-level employees are increasingly left out in the cold. These are workers who make decent salaries, but not enough to absorb the costs of becoming independent. They lack the skills to become highly paid freelancers, but don't qualify for the safety nets offered to low-income workers. For them, the collapse of the 9-to-5 has meant fewer opportunities, less stability, and more anxiety. And then there's the issue of compliance. To avoid legal risk, companies increasingly rely on staffing agencies to handle contract workers. This adds yet another layer between the worker and the company, reducing transparency and accountability. According to the American Staffing Association, most contractors today operate through third-party firms, which means they're often treated like employees without receiving the same protections or benefits. It's the worst of both worlds. Neither true employment nor true independence. This is where the 9-to-5 truly starts to fracture, not because it's inefficient or unpopular or antiquated, though it is all of those things, but because it's no longer mutually beneficial. Employers want flexibility, workers want autonomy, but the traditional model offers neither. Instead, it traps people in a system where time is no longer money, security is no longer guaranteed, and productivity is measured by how long you can stare at a screen, not what you produce. As the 9-to-5 model dies, three groups will benefit: entry-level gig workers seeking flexibility, elite professionals leveraging their skills into high-paying contracts, and corporations looking to cut costs. The rest, those in the middle, will bear the brunt of this transition. They're too skilled for gig work, not specialized enough for contracting, and too valuable to lose, but too costly to keep full-time. They will be squeezed hardest as the old systems vanish and the new ones fail to accommodate them. Regulations meant to protect workers may complicate things further. If a contractor files for unemployment or disputes their classification, companies risk being audited by the IRS. If that audit determines they were misclassified, the business may owe retroactive benefits to all contractors. To avoid this, companies offload their risk onto staffing agencies, who then offer stripped-down packages with lower pay and fewer protections. In this system, everyone but the corporation loses. So yes, the 9-to-5 model is collapsing, but its replacement is still being written, and not everyone will be pleased with the outcome. As we stand on the edge of this transition, the question isn't whether the traditional job model is dying, it's what we'll replace it with. Flexibility is valuable, so is stability, but can we have both? Let us know what you think in the comments. Are we witnessing a workplace revolution, or just trading one flawed system for another? Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the future of work is happening now, and it's moving faster than any punch clock ever did.